Oh my god! Look at that lagoon!
Chloe gasped, her face pressed tight against the glass of the passenger window. She turned to me, her eyes alive with that bright electric energy I fell in love with, throwing her arms around my neck as far as her harness allowed.
You actually pulled this off? A private flight? I can't believe you kept this a secret from me for 6 months!
I couldn't help but grin, adjusting my headset, a deep wave of pride washing over me. My hyper-analytical brain had planned every single second of this day, down to the millimeter. "Only the best for you," I told her, leaning forward to top our pilot on his leather jacket. "Hey, Captain Harris, how far out is that volcanic ring?"
"Just over the next ridge of clouds, son. Your girl is gonna love it. It's a view very few people ever
Captain Harris froze. His left hand slammed against his chest, his fingers clawing desperately at his shirt. Before I could even process what was happening, his eyes rolled completely back into his skull. His skin turned the color of wet ash.
Captain?
I screamed.
His body went entirely limp, slumping heavily forward, pinning the control yoke to the floorboards.
The Cessna plunged into a vertical, screaming dive. Gravity slammed me back into my seat, ripping the air straight out of my lungs. Beside me, Chloe's awe vanished, replaced by an absolute, piercing shriek of terror. Her fingernails buried deep into my forearm, tearing through my skin.
Eddie, do something! He's not breathing!
Below us, a jagged, uncharted emerald island rushed upward like a spear aimed directly at my chest. "Hold on," I roared. I threw my right arm around Captain Harris's neck, violently pulling his dead weight off the controls, while my left hand desperately yanked back on the secondary yoke with everything I had. The world flipped. A sickening metallic crunch shuddered through my teeth. The windshield exploded into a million diamond-sharp shards. I opened my eyes. The thick, oily taste of aviation fuel and copper was heavy on my tongue. Blinding, high-noon sunlight pierced through the fractured cockpit frame. The plane was resting at a horrific tilted angle, its nose completely crumpled into the black mud of a suffocating jungle shore. I looked to my right. Chloe's seat was empty. Her passenger door was jammed wide open. "Chloe," I croaked, my throat feeling like it was lined with sandpaper. "Chloe, can you hear me?" A sharp, ragged gasp echoed from outside. Chloe crawled into the broken doorway, her face a mask of sticky, dark blood and black mud. Her bright summer sundress was completely shredded, revealing a deep, jagged laceration across her right thigh.
"I'm here,"
she whispered, her voice trembling. Then, in an instant, her eyes flared with a dangerous, volatile fury as she looked at the crumpled plane.
"Where is he? Where is that pilot? He was supposed to fly us around the islands, Eddie. This was your big romantic surprise. Look at us."
"Chloe, calm down," I pleaded, forcing my voice into a steady, calm cadence despite the frantic hammering of my heart. "He had a heart attack. He died in the air. Look at me. We survived the impact."
"We're trapped!"
She snapped, her breath catching in her throat as she gripped her bleeding leg, her supportive demeanor completely shattered by the shock.
"Eddie, look at this place. There's nothing here. We're going to die."
"We are not going to die," I said firmly. I unbuckled my harness, tumbling onto the canted floorboard. A white-hot spike of agony shot through my left side. My shoulder was dislocated, the bone visibly protruding beneath my torn shirt. I braced myself, jamming my shoulder hard against the crumpled doorframe. I gasped, a cold sweat breaking out across my forehead, my vision going entirely black for a second. I held my breath, forcing the pain down into a dark corner of my brain. I had to think. I had to catalog our resources. 20 minutes later, I had dragged us out of the wreckage. We huddled under the meager shade of a sprawling mangrove tree. Our inventory was pitiful: a single half-crushed bottle of water, my small Swiss Army knife, and a dead satellite phone.
The radio in the cockpit is completely fried, I told her, wrapping a tight gauze bandage around her thigh. We're hundreds of miles off any commercial flight path. I altered the flight plan as a surprise. Nobody knows we're here. Chloe's face contorted. She violently slapped my hand away from her leg, her temper exploding.
You altered the flight plan? Without telling anyone? Are you insane, Eddie? You did this to us.
I did this to give you the trip of your dreams, I shouted back, my own composure slipping for a split second before I caught myself. I took a deep breath. Fighting won't keep us alive, Chloe. The sun is going down. We need water, and we need to find food.
By day 3, the island had stripped away every single layer of humanity I had left. The tropical paradise was a total lie. The black sand beach was infested with microscopic biting sandflies that turned my skin into a map of weeping welts. Our water bottle was long empty. I resorted to licking condensation off broad jungle leaves at dawn. Chloe's leg wound had turned a sickening, putrid shade of yellow. The infection was burning through her, sending her into alternating fits of shivering chills and explosive paranoid rages.
I was emaciated, my ribs starkly visible against my sun-scorched skin. I offered her a handful of raw, translucent ghost crabs I had spent hours catching in the surf. Eat this. We need the protein.
I'm not eating that.
I looked down at my empty, sandy hands. I didn't say a word. I just stood up and walked toward the shoreline. I stared out at the endless, mocking blue horizon. But then, my eyes caught something. A mile down the coastline, protruding from the dense jungle canopy, was a collapsed concrete structure, an old, abandoned World War II observation tower. "Chloe," I said, rushing back to the shelter. "Get up, we have to move."
The trek through the jungle interior was a living nightmare. Chloe leaned heavily on my good shoulder, her breath coming in ragged, wet wheezes, her hand gripping my skin with a terrifying white-knuckled intensity. We finally reached the base of the concrete tower. Inside, the air was surprisingly, deadly cool. "Look," I breathed. In the corner of the room sat a massive, rusted iron hatch built into the concrete floor. Together, we threw our weight against the iron wheel. The hatch swung open. It was a military bunker. Sitting on a concrete workbench, covered in decades of dust, but miraculously intact, was a heavy, hand-cranked emergency radio transmitter. Next to it lay a green plastic canteen filled with stale, clean water.
Water.
Chloe gasped, lunging past me and grabbing the canteen, gulping the fluid down with animalistic desperation. I dropped to my knees in front of the radio transmitter. I grabbed the generator handle and began to crank it with furious, desperate energy. Small amber vacuum tubes on the radio interface began to glow. A faint crackling hiss emitted from the heavy plastic headset. "It works," I whispered, a euphoric laugh bubbling up from my chest. "Chloe, we can call for help."
I grabbed the heavy microphone, flipping the toggle switch.
Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. This is an emergency broadcast. Civilian aircraft crashed on an uncharted island. Survivors require immediate medical evacuation.
I flipped the switch to receive. For a long, agonizing minute, there was nothing but the empty hiss of white noise. Then, a voice broke through.
Copy. Broadcast. State your names. Repeat. State your names.
I grinned wildly, tears finally spilling down my sun-baked cheeks.
This is Eddie Vance and Chloe Lynn. We're here. Please, you have to find us.
The radio crackled violently. The voice on the other end seemed to stutter, the operator's tone suddenly shifting into a state of absolute shock.
Repeat names? Did you say Eddie Vance and Chloe Lynn?
Yes, that's us.
There was a long pause. When the voice spoke again, it was perfectly clear, laced with a heavy, professional urgency.
Sir, listen to me very carefully. A search and rescue team found the wreckage of your Cessna a few days ago on a reef miles away from your current location. They recovered the bodies of the pilot and the woman, Chloe Lynn. Their bodies had floated to a nearby beach, but the male passenger, Eddie Vance, was logged as missing in action. We are sending a rescue team to your coordinates immediately. Hold on, Eddie. We are coming right now. What are you talking about?
I stammered, my mind spinning.
She's right here. She's standing right next to me. We've been surviving together.
Sir, you are experiencing severe dehydration and trauma.
The operator's voice cut through Thrumley.
The headset slipped from my fingers, clattering onto the concrete desk. My breath came in shallow, rapid gasps. The claustrophobia of the bunker felt like it was crushing my chest. I slowly turned my head to look toward the door. Chloe was standing straight by the bunker door. The dirt, the yellow infection on her leg, the bloody gashes, they were all gone. Her shredded sundress was clean, flowing gently as if caught in a breeze that wasn't there. She looked exactly as she had when we first boarded the plane. She walked over to me, her movements fluid and weightless. She didn't leave footprints in the dust. I looked down at my own hands. They were blistered, bleeding, and raw from weeks of solo survival, weeks of gathering water for one, weeks of arguing with the empty air. I had been completely alone. My mind had built her out of the wreckage of my own grief just to keep me from giving up. Chloe stopped right in front of me. A beautiful, serene smile spread across her face. She reached out, her hand brushing against my cheek, leaving no physical warmth, only the phantom sensation of a cool summer wind.
I'm always with you,
She whispered, her voice echoing softly in the enclosed space.
It was a great surprise. Don't put the blame on you. I love you, Eddie. Goodbye.
I blinked. The doorway was empty. There was no one there. Only the heavy, undisturbed dust of a decades-old bunker dancing in the amber glow of the radio tubes. I fell to my knees, a ragged, broken sob tearing from my throat as the absolute reality of my solitude crashed down on me. Hours later, the beam of a high-powered tactical flashlight pierced the darkness of my prison.
Over here, I found him. We have the missing passenger.
Hands, real, warm, heavy hands, grabbed my shoulders. They lifted me from the dirt, wrapping a thick woolen survival blanket around my emaciated frame. As they carried me up the bunker stairs and out into the blinding sunlight of the black sand beach, I looked back at the jungle one last time. The helicopter rotors kicked up a massive storm of sand and leaves, but through the haze, the island stood still, silent, and entirely empty.